Frontier by Maggot Moshpit, Chapter 17. Shortly after Rico paid Getio, the crew of Alpha 2 started their work. The first order of business was to install emergency bulkheads around the cargo bays. These heavy metal doors would close shut shortly after a hull breach formed. Before the repair crews patched the Frontier's hull up, they took the opportunity of having access to the inner hull to install plug foam trademark, a special polymer that expands and hardens as it is exposed to space, meaning breaches would automatically be sealed with the foam. During the renovations, the Frontier had to be vacated, though no one stayed on the ship anyway. Lef was taking a stroll in one of the parks, admiring the feat of botany it was to get all the plants to grow healthily in the alien environment. His bad mood had completely gone, now that things were finally coming up Lef. His pocket beeped, and he pulled out his SCOM, replaced by his old SCOM's insurance policy after it was broken by Old Man Jenkins, and answered the unknown number.
Hello?
Oh, hey Lef. It's me, Rico.
Rico sounded nervous.
Hey, what's up?
Can you meet me at Curio's? Like, now?
Lef had a bad feeling about this.
Alright, what's this about? Nothing serious?
No, nothing serious. Just, unexpected.
Okay, I'll be right there.
Rico hung up. Lef put away his SCOM, thinking that Rico sounded too anxious for an antique dealer. He turned around and whistled as he followed the street signs to Curio's. He saw Rico pacing the shop from its garage door-like open wall as he approached. A man stood next to him. As he walked into the shop, he recognized the man as the man he had seen in his dream, a dream he never remembered having. A flood of memory poured into his head, taking along with it a splitting headache. Although most of what he had seen had been lost, he still remembered a great deal of information about Alpha 2, including this man. Rico stepped up to Lef as he walked in, ignoring his wince of pain.
Ah, Lef. I'd like you to meet my Uncle Rick. He would like to tag along.
Lef shook his hand, remembering the two men the man was talking to in his dream. He was pretty sure they called him Kane, though.
Hello, I'm Lef. Nice name.
Rick shot a glance at Rico.
We're a very unimaginative family.
Rico laughed nervously.
Yeah. My sister's name is Ricky.
Anyway, this is very sudden, but I don't think it'll be a problem.
Rick nodded.
I just heard Rico was going to Baker Colony, and I thought I'd join him, seeing as I was going there myself.
Something didn't add up.
So, you two are related, and you're both going to the same place, but you only just learned about this, Rick?
Rick glanced around.
Yes. Well, we don't talk much.
And it's a total coincidence we're going to the same place.
Lef nodded slowly.
Right. Sorry to pry, but if you don't talk much, why not just go separately?
Rick shrugged.
Free ride.
Lef relaxed his shoulders. He was probably being paranoid. He smiled.
Alright then, you can come along. It might not be as luxurious as a Starbus, but what are you going to do?
Rick just nodded and walked out of the shop. Lef looked around the shop, only having heard Rico was an antique dealer from Zach.
Nice collection of stuff you got here.
Rico perked up. His genuine interest in antiques was clear.
Yes, I'm very proud of all the things I've collected, and there's a story behind almost every one.
Lef perused the many items. Tin toy cars, large cameras, ancient video game consoles, all manner of historical paraphernalia.
I'm not much of a Terran history buff, but this is impressive.
Rico beamed.
Thank you. I try.
Lef picked up a thin rectangular box. The faded cover showed a raccoon Atrian, but the numbers on the bottom dated the item at 2005. Terran calendar. He showed the item to Rico.
What's this?
Oh, that's an old Earth game. A popular item for archaeologists, as it shows Atrians on Earth even before we discovered faster-than-light travel.
Rico grinned.
I think it's either a coincidence or a fake.
Lef put the item down.
You'd think they'd have records of it on Terra. Clear up the question.
Rico shrugged.
A lot of culture was lost in World War III.
Lef really wasn't a Terran history buff. He had completely forgotten Terra had gone through 3 world wars.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Hell, I don't know shit about Atrian history. Don't feel bad.
Well, you must know some things. You did live on Atria's moon, didn't you? I mean, that's how you met Zach?
Yeah, but I didn't bother learning anything. I was an exchange student. My parents made me do it for the betterment of both cultures, as they put it.
Lef nodded as Rico continued.
I stayed there for a while, and I hated it so much I ran away and started a new life.
Here?
Well, I did some other stuff first, but yeah.
And what about Zach? You guys seem to be pretty close.
Lef said, the curiosity getting the better of him.
We used to date.
Lef almost laughed. Homosexuality was extremely rare among Atrians, due to their reproductive cycle, but it did happen. Atrians didn't hold any prejudice against it, and there were no laws against it, but the concept was the butt of many jokes on Atria, something the few homosexual Atrians did not appreciate. Lef had to remind himself humans had a much higher number of these individuals, and a much more mature attitude towards it.
Okay, that's cool.
Rico laughed.
You sound like my physics teacher.
Sorry, it's an Atrian thing. Don't worry about it.
Rico shrugged.
Humans weren't always so open to the idea of gay people running around, but those types pretty much disappeared 200 years ago.
Atria had something similar. In ancient times, the different subspecies of Atrians lived apart. Not by choice, mind you. Atria is 3 times bigger than Earth, and it took a while for them to find each other. But once they did, there were race wars. The feline species seemed the most powerful for a while, and the gap between species got so bad that feline nobles would walk around taking canines into slavery right off the streets.
Whoa, what happened?
One man named Martin stood up and showed we all had something in common.
Lef pointed to his eye.
Our eyes are all the same. Soon it was discovered that all Atrians had pretty much the same internal organs, and we got over ourselves. Took 100 years, but it happened.
Rico digested the story for a minute.
I guess humans and Atrians aren't so different after all.
Lef frowned.
I just wish the Atrian government had looked in the history book before declaring war on your race.
History repeats itself.
I guess it does.
Lef looked around the room some more, deciding he liked Rico and trusted him. Something on the wall caught his eye, and he walked over and picked it up.
What's this thing?
Rico walked over and looked at the gun in Lef's paws.
That's a rifle. I have no idea what it's called, but the seller said it was really famous.
Lef felt the weight of the rifle in his paws and looked down the sight.
It's got a certain aesthetic quality I like. How much? I'd like to put it on the wall in my room.
Rico grinned.
You sure you can afford it?
I'm not paying a single credit for these repairs, and I'm getting paid 85 million credits when I'm done with my mission. I think I can afford it.
Well, if you say so. It's $1,000. That's 95,000 credits.
Lef pulled out his wallet and produced his bank chip.
Never hurts to splurge when your days are numbered.
Rico took his chip and walked over to the counter, plugging it into a machine and typing in the amount.
All right, it's yours. You want some bullets for it?
Is that illegal?
Rico waved his hand.
Not if you have a license to carry. When I got the thing, I wanted to see if it would work, so I sent an order to a matter replication plant, and they sent me 8 bullets. Here's 7.
He tossed Lef a small box.
Thanks, but I won't need it.
He waved and left with the rifle and box. 2 days later, Lef stood in the cockpit of the Frontier, waiting for a message. Everyone was aboard and raring to go. Lef heard the steady sound of a plasma welder suddenly stop as the last section of hull was replaced. Soon after, the comm beeped. Serlia answered.
This is the Frontier. Go ahead.
Geddio laughed on the other side of the comm.
Why so formal? You're all good. You won't explode next time there's a hull breach. Best of luck.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Lef sat in his chair.
Lena, take us out.
Zach walked out of the engine room and towards the cockpit after running a last-minute check on the drive. As he passed one of the cargo bays, he heard grunting and peeked inside.
Rico. Do you want any help with that?
Rico was pushing his cargo against the wall with difficulty.
No, I've got it.
Zach rolled his eyes and pushed the crate alongside Rico.
You're a terrible liar.
Rico was about to say, "Fooled you, didn't I?" but decided to pass up the opportunity and instead mumbled something. With Zach's help, the crate was pushed to the far end of the room, far away from the larger, non-breakable crates. Rico dusted off his hands.
Whew! That's better. I don't want one of those crates falling and crushing mine when we jump to hyperspace.
I don't think that would happen, but if it makes you feel any better.
It does.
Rico opened the crate and checked over the top layer of cards. Each one was in its own sleeve and looked in good condition. Zack picked one up and turned it over in his hand.
These are baseball cards. I didn't know there were this many left.
There are, apparently. And before you ask, I had them checked. They're legit.
Zack gingerly removed the card from its sleeve and looked at it closely. Something was wrong. Not with what the card looked like, but with its texture. Instead of being smooth, it was rough and grainy. Before he could wonder further, Rico snatched it from him.
Hey, don't handle the merchandise!
Okay, sorry.
Urgh, you got fingerprints on it. Oh well. No one will notice. Thanks for the help.
No problem.
Zack took the hint and walked out of the cargo bay, heading to his cabin. Once he arrived, he picked up a datapad he was reading, but noticed something on his fingers. He looked closely. It looked like some of the card had crumbled and stuck to his fingertips. He sniffed them for no particular reason, and immediately sneezed. He shrugged, brushed the remaining dust off his fingers, and continued to read. Rico walked into the converted cargo bay, where the usual hustle and bustle created an ambience of voices. Children kicked balls around, chased by their mothers when they inevitably broke something. Older folks sat at tables, talking or playing cards. Rico spotted Kane sitting at one such table, just staring nowhere in particular. He went over and sat across from him.
Kane, what are you doing?
Kane snapped out of his trance.
What? Oh, it's you. I was just listening. An old habit. The more information you gather about anywhere you'll be spending a lot of time, the better. I suppose I expected you not to know that.
Rico frowned, ignoring the offhand comment.
So share some of the info. What have you heard?
Kane nodded towards two people sitting across from each other, talking into their cups of water.
Nothing of any value. These simple folk don't talk about much. That couple over there have been talking about the same thing for an hour and a half.
Rico glanced over.
What? They're all the way on the other side of the room.
Kane tapped his ear.
I didn't only get my strength enhanced, you know.
Yeah, whatever. So what are they talking about?
Kane sighed.
Their goddamn relationship. Apparently they had one night of drunken sex, and now they're discussing whether or not they have feelings for each other. It's the most shallow conversation I've ever heard. That's the problem with these Atrians. They rely too much on feelings to solve their problems. Hence why they haven't resolved the issue in an hour and a half.
Kane, don't look now, but I think your prejudice is showing.
Kane's smirk somehow got more menacing.
I'm just making an observation.
Sure.
Oh, here comes a third one. This'll get interesting. From a cultural standpoint, of course.
Rico watched as Lena walked up and sat at the table.
Kane, do you watch soap operas by any chance?
Zack wasn't feeling very well. His vision was getting blurry, and he was having trouble concentrating on his book. He stumbled to his feet, leaning heavily on the wall. He'd only felt something like this once before, at a college party when he'd tried something a drunk friend had given him. What was on that card? He tried to think back to the party, but his mind felt fuzzy and didn't want to remember what the friend had called it. Zack exited his room, getting his footing somewhat, and walked shakily to the cargo bay where the cards sat in their crate. By the time he got there, he was thanking God he didn't sniff more of the stuff, as he was now feeling the full effects of the drug, if that's what it was. He couldn't think that straight, so he decided to talk instead.
Don't worry, Zack. Once you get to the bottom of this, you can warn Rico there's drugs on his cards.
He ripped open the crate and picked up a card, removing it from its sleeve. His hands trembled as he inspected it. Sure, it was the one he picked up earlier. He rolled it between his fingers, and a fine dust fell to the floor. The more he rolled his fingers, the more dust fell, until there was a hole through the card.
What the fuck? It's made of the stuff.
He took the card in his hand and crushed it, the powder falling to the floor. He pulled out more cards, crushing them.
It's all.
He took out the top layer by removing the top tray, and beneath it were more cards and a small device. A light was blinking on the device. He picked it up, pressing some of the buttons randomly. His random pressing caused something to happen. The device vibrated, causing Zack to drop it. He watched as it fell among some of the cards. The top glowed, and all the cards in the tray it fell on lost their color and turned to white powder.
Zack!
He turned around, the drug in his system wearing off surprisingly quickly.
Rico, What is all this?
Rico was holding his SCOM, and it was vibrating in his hand. Zack looked at it and realized something in the crate must have alerted him that someone was tampering with it.
Zack, this isn't what it looks like.
I know exactly what this is. This is drugs, Rico. You brought drugs aboard.
Rico walked towards him slowly.
Zack, you have to understand, I didn't have a choice.
The fuck you did? You manipulated me into transporting your drugs, and you know it.
Alright, fine. But I need this, Zack. I'm deep in debt, and Rick, will kill me if I don't deliver this.
I don't care. You're gonna get us all arrested.
Zack pushed past Rico and towards the door.
Zack, wait!
He was about to shout back when he felt the end of a pistol against his back.
I'm sorry, but I can't let you leave.
You wouldn't shoot me.
Rico pulled out his SCOM and called Kane.
Rick, we've got a problem. Get to the goods now.
He hung up before Kane could berate him.
Zack, I'm not lying about Rick. Fuck it, his name is actually Kane. He's a pawn in a drug cartel, and so am I. But it wasn't always like this. I was behind on my payments, and this was the only way out.
Zack turned around slowly.
I don't believe you.
Rico's hand shook as he gripped the pistol.
Whatever! Maybe I did deal on the side, but I never hurt anybody.
Look at me. I'm stoned, and it's not very pleasant.
Zack said, his mind still fuzzy. Kane burst into the room and ran over.
Rico! What the hell is happening? Rico, you're dead.
Lef was sitting at the table with Taliko, Yar, and Lena, trying to sort out their problem. Lena was in the middle of a spiel about being honest with oneself when something hit Lef in the side of the head. It wasn't something physical, and it felt as though it passed through his brain, leaving something behind. He felt like he was only out for a second, but when he opened his eyes, he was on the ground, surrounded by the occupants of the table. Taliko covered her mouth with her paws.
Liv, what was that? You shouted and Phil...
Lef sprang up.
Lena, call the police. Tell them to get the SRT here ASAP.
What? What's happening?
Just trust me. Hurry.
Lef ran off to his cabin.
Shut up, Kane. We'll just, I don't know, lock him up until we get there?
Kane reached inside his coat and pulled out a pistol of his own.
No. We have to dispose of him and take the ship. Our cover has been blown.
Rico pushed against Kane's arm.
No, wait!
Kane pulled the trigger, but Rico pushed it hard enough to cause him to miss. Zack jumped back, tripping on the crate top and sprawling on the floor.
Rico, damn it! Think about what you're doing! We need to make this delivery!
I know! Just don't kill Zack!
Kane grabbed Rico with his other hand and shoved him away with incredible strength.
I don't care what you say, and I never did. He needs to go!
There was a gunshot. Kane staggered forward and turned around.
What?
He looked down at his shirt. Blood was spreading from a hole in his chest. Lef crouched at the door, the rifle in his paws, barrel smoking slightly. Kane tumbled forward. The same instant Rico fired his pistol at Lef, missing him and hitting the doorframe. There was a loud klaxon as the emergency bulkhead lowered quickly, Lef managing to roll out of the way just in time. He felt the ship drop out of hyperspace as he watched the bulkhead close fully.
Damn touchy bulkhead. You could breathe at it and it would activate.
Sully and Feldo arrived, out of breath.
Lef, what's going on here? Why do you need the SRT team?
It seems Rico's gotten into some trouble. I don't know what happened, but Rick tried to kill Zack. I got here in time, but Rico shut the door, and now the bulkhead is down.
Feldo pulled off the door panel and fiddled with the wires, as Surlia put her ear against the door.
Is he safe in there? Rico won't hurt him?
For some reason he tried to stop Rick, but I'm not sure.
Feldo pulled out a wire.
The controls are fused. I knew something was up with this Rico character the second I laid eyes on him.
Surlia removed her ear from the door.
I don't think I hear shooting, but who knows? Let's just hope the police get here in time.
Rico paced the room, Zack sitting on the floor trying to stem the flow of blood from his nose.
Rico, look. They've got you. Lef found out somehow. Maybe by psychic beads. I don't know. I'll have to ask him later. Look, what I'm trying to say is, you're screwed.
Shut up! I'm trying to think.
He paced some more, then remembered something. He pulled out his SCOM, set it for long distance, and called.
Lenny, get everything you can and run. They got me. No, just go. Don't look back.
He hung up. As soon as the bulkhead had closed shut, Rico had shot the door controls some more to ensure they would remain shut. Zack ripped a strip off his shirt and jammed it up his nose.
Rico, come on, think about this for a second. What are you gonna do? You're trapped.
I always think of something.
His SCOM beeped. He answered it.
Lenny, I told you to...
He hung up fast.
The police are here already. Oh, fuck. This is all your fault. If I hadn't gotten emotional, we would be free and clear. But now one of us is dead and I'm fucked. Maybe Kane was right. Feelings do complicate things.
Zack held out his hand.
Give me the gun, Rico.
No! I won't make the same mistake twice. Maybe I could use the escape pod.
They'll blow you out of the sky, you know that.
Rico swung the pistol at Zack, making him step back.
It's better than going to prison for the rest of my life. I'm only 28. I'm not living my last 50 years in a cold cell on some penal colony.
It's either that or death if you try to fight. Come on, think about this. Jesus, it's so simple. Give me the gun, turn yourself in. It's not going to be too long before they blow down the doors and get you anyway.
Rico crouched on the ground and buried his head in his hands.
I don't know. Just let me think.
Zack quickly took this opportunity to snatch the gun from Rico's hands. Rico looked up abruptly.
I would have given you the gun.
I couldn't take that chance.
Zack walked over to the door, reached inside the hole that was once the door controls, and pulled down the manual override lever, opening the bulkhead. Atrian SRT officers rushed in and grabbed Zack and his gun.
Wait, guys, I was the hostage.
Rico was quickly apprehended, as the officer that grabbed Zack smiled sheepishly.
Yeah, I knew that.
Feldo ran up to Zack.
Are you alright? What did you do to your nose?
I fell.
2 officers shooed them out.
This is a crime scene now. Please follow us.
Zack looked back and caught Rico's eye for a split second before he was pulled off. They were led down the hall and through the crowd that had gathered, and into the conference room, where a command center had been set up. Though the officer that was setting it up was told it would be a long negotiation, and now he was packing all the equipment up, trying not to look too disappointed. They sat at the table. Lena was sitting there as well, and she turned to Lef.
Oh, they got him?
Evidently, yes.
Serlia chuckled.
I don't know how you knew what was happening, but to be honest, I'm not complaining.
A familiar face strolled into the room.
Hello again.
Lef wasn't surprised at this point.
Hi, Prax.
Well, in trouble again, This time unwittingly transporting drugs. I pushed my ship to L7 to get here, you know. No, don't worry, you're not in trouble. Kane isn't dead either, so I have to thank you. We were looking for that guy for a long time. But that's all classified. Anyway, down to business. You all have to fill out these forms.
He handed them each a thick stack of papers and pens.
And I'll be along later to collect your statements.
He was on his way to the door when he turned around.
Oh, and Lef, I better not find out you knew about the drugs and use them to pay off your repair bill, because I have a feeling that wouldn't make me very happy.
Lef looked him in the eye.
I didn't know.
I'm just checking.
He stepped out. Lef looked at the others at the table.
What? I didn't know.
After the long and tedious process, Prax and his crew finally left with their 2 prisoners. Lef shook his paw as he left.
Thanks again.
Don't mention it.
He waved at Serlia as the airlock closed. Lef wiped his paw on his pant leg.
I still don't like that guy.
He keeps saving our fur.
Yeah, I know, but he did take 1,000,000 credits from me.
They returned to the cockpit where the rest of the crew waited. Before giving the order to leave, Lef tapped Zack on the shoulder.
Zack, you alright?
What? Yeah, I'm alright. Why do you ask?
You went through some pretty traumatic shit. I mean, held hostage by your ex?
You know, somehow that made it less scary.
Right. Lena, resume course.
Aye, Lef.